Well, hi, it's Father Alex here, Vicar of St Matthew's, host of the Godcast, and this Godcast is one I'm doing myself actually, and it's just to try and explain a little bit and help people who are not clever, not very clever, people who want to understand what's going on in Palestine and Israel, don't quite understand what's going on. I am not an academic. I can't give you all the answers and the solutions, but I'm just going to try and give you a little bit of an overview of some of the challenges and help to perhaps explain it a little bit. So if we go back to Palestine in the time of Jesus 2,000 years ago, let's start with Jesus, I suppose, and this was a land of Jewish people who were taken over by the Romans, the Roman Empire. And of course, that's when Jesus is implicated and he's crucified and dies on the cross. And we know what happens, death, resurrection. And then over the period of time that follows, disciples start spreading the word of Jesus. And so by the kind of 4th century, so 400 years after Jesus, we have got a lot of Christians living in that area, and all is reasonably calm. And then what happened in about the 6th century, we saw the growth and the Muslim empire and the Muslim way of theological thinking comes onto the scene. And what happens is numerous Muslim groups take control of that area. So this is kind of the whole thing around the sanctity and the importance of the Holy Land being one of the oldest empires of one of the first places of kind of growth of ways of thinking outside of Judaism and the Jewish way of thinking. So then over many years, disagreements, battles, arguments rage about who has entitlement to this land. And I'm not a history teacher, I'm not a history academic, but look up something like the Crusades or the Crusaders and look at some of the awful violence that Christians inflicted on human beings around that time. And it gives you some picture about how it all was becoming more and more volatile. And then what happens is the area is controlled by the Ottomans, and it's controlled by the Ottoman Empire for many, many years. And again, you want to understand a bit more history, just go and Google the Ottomans and learn a little bit about that period. But then at the turn of the 19th century and the First World War period time, my understanding is that the Brits, then the British Empire, took control of Palestine and kind of in a hope to bring some order and some peace and some understanding, which it did for a period of time, but then things evolved from there. So at this point, the British Empire wanted to find somewhere where Jews could establish as home, somewhere they could return to, and that is what their intentions were. This was all kind of during the period of the First World War. And then 1922, the League of Nations, which was kind of a worldwide body to kind of oversee peace in the world, gave full control to the British Empire and the British government. And from there, things started to change again. Then what the British Empire wanted to do was to break this area into two states, so kind of a split down the middle. One side of Palestine would be for the Jews, and the other side of Palestine would be for the Arabs. notwithstanding this group of Palestinian Christians that could sit in it. Yeah, sorry. And so while the Second World War was in progress, my understanding is that the Israelis were pushing back those people who wanted to encroach and invade this sacred land. And my understanding is they pushed back the Egyptians, they pushed back the Syrians, they pushed back the Jordans, and many, many people were displaced or moved or fled and left in fear for their lives, not too dissimilar to present day. So what happened then was Israel eventually took full control of the land, and under political pressure and concerns in the worldwide community, a kind of a two-state solution wasn't possible. The potential to share the land was not going to happen, and so the Israelis created what we now know as land called the Gaza Strip in the south of the Israeli state, and also the area of the West Bank in the west of the country, up near places such as, which may be known to you, places such as Bethlehem. And from there, over many years, this has been the case where the people of Gaza live where they do, and the people of the West Bank live where they do, and the Israelis sit in and around those areas. And numerous peace talks have taken place over the years, such as things as like the Oslo Agreement, seeking a two-state solution where Palestine would be recognized as a state within its own right. Within all that, in the Israeli state, there has been lots of tension, and you may or may not be familiar with the term land grabbing, where Israeli people or Israeli groups have been accused of grabbing land that was not theirs, that was Palestinian territory. And you see this in areas of the West Bank, and this encroachment upon what is known as the Gaza Strip. People of my age and generation will remember the news with the PLO, the Palestine Liberation Group, led by Yasser Arafat, and things again were very, very tense. And then in 2005, the group Hamas is formed within the Gaza Strip, and again, it's difficult to go into detail through my own ignorance, but Hamas effectively became the ruling governance of the Gaza Strip, and Israel have never really been comfortable with that, and have had great difficulty in recognizing Hamas as a political organization and see them as a terrorist organization. And that's kind of where it lands us at where we are today. And we are now seeing such dreadful loss of life and pain and torture and suffering, and the unnecessary loss of life. And within that, you now have the usual argument now of who is responsible. Hamas suggesting their oppression, their inability to flourish as a nation. They lay the blame of that squarely at the hands of the Israelis, with the Israelis simply saying, "Look, you're a group of terrorists. We can't possibly engage with you." And within all that, there's so many other complexities. I'm not even mentioned where Christians sit in this, and this is what makes somewhere like Jerusalem, such a beautiful but staggeringly complex place to kind of be around. You know, I've visited Jerusalem twice in the last 6 years, and you know, within the old city of Jerusalem, you've got some of the most important religious sites. You know, the place where Christians understand that Jesus lived and went about his ministry. But then you've also got the history of the Jewish people that sits within that same space. And then, of course, more latterly, the Muslim Empire that also hold the Holy Land, Israel, as a very sacred, important part of their history. And so it's so difficult, it's so upsetting, you know. One of the ironies is that when I've been in these places where these holy sites are very close, you know, let me just tell you that somewhere such as the Wailing Wall, which is in Old Jerusalem, in the old city, is literally a 5-10 minute walk away from the Holy Sepulchre, the site where it's understood that Jesus was crucified, which is literally 5-10 minutes away from the Muslim quarter of Old Jerusalem. The irony is that when it's working, it is a beautiful, peaceful, spiritual place. But then you move out and you see the soldiers and the guns, and you realize that it's a dangerous, volatile place. I don't offer you any solutions to this crisis. I offer prayers for the people who are caught up in it. I'll always pray for peace in Jerusalem and the Holy Land. I'll always pray for Palestinians. I'll always pray for Muslims. I'll always pray for Jews. Jesus told us to love thy neighbour as thyself with all thy heart and with all their mind. And that's what I'll try to do. And in doing that, I hope that others may find a way of reconciliation. They may find a land that can find peace within itself. But as a peace-loving Christian, we can never condone unnecessary loss of life in the name of the God that I only know is a peace and loving God and wants the best for us all, every single person. So there we are. There may be some inaccuracies in there. There may be things that you don't understand. There may be things you think, oh God, Father Alex is just talking rubbish, but that's just my little way of trying to break it down for you, helping you to consider what is going on, and ask you, if you're of the praying mind, to pray for peace in Israel, in Palestine, and the whole of the Middle East. In Jesus' name, amen.